Okay, for today, day 5, we're doing a bathroom shoot to help my partner rest without light. So today has been more of a deep and wide rather than a tall response to the question. So number 1, well, we've got some height, but number 1, I designed a nonprofit that was intended to be a 10-fold increase in its effectiveness and flow over any nonprofit that I'm aware of. And number 2, I created 2 videos for that to serve as an inspiration. I'm actually going to put those on as appended videos for part of this project. And I asked my assistant, who found 4 locations for volunteer programming. So what I'm looking at is how to participate in co-creating an effective nonprofit with the intention of maximizing well-being that would have a disruptive, positive impact on the nonprofit sector in its design. Number 2, I've been going deep with this sense of differentiating what I might call the ego self and the truer self. So I've often had this sense that what's coming out of my mouth and what I'm strategizing about and what I'm doing is this very narrow and often manipulative lens where it's basically learned behavior, where I know through analyzing patterns over a period of time that this is what works in this culture or in this world to get a given result. And it's often quite sad, when you look at the very narrow and rather circuitous thread. And frankly, the echo is getting to me here, so let's try and move out. I think we should have less echo here. So it really gets to me that in this context, that there's this positive impulse to be of service, to make someone happy, to create something beautiful. And there's no room for it. There's no room for it in the culture. And it doesn't fit the paradigm in some way. And so I end up getting attached to the outcome and doing all these roundabout things to kind of make a home in physicality for these very healthy, positive impulses that are not coming from this kind of strategic, acculturated lens of a self, but rather from something deeper. And I've spent the day napping, feeling, being present to what does it feel like to be that self that's just a little bit far removed, that's not fully in this body, that's not fully in this culture, that doesn't buy into any of the various cultural games and agendas that I've been taught and learned, but rather is, I would call it like a geometric light, a geometric pattern of energy and light that's playful, that's playing, that doesn't fit into this very narrow body. Maybe just, 1,000th of one part of its geometry kind of just overlays into a part of my brain. And, I can get a little bit of a sense of it. And I've also been reflecting on the fact that so much of modern life is so fast and so dangerous and so political and so cultural that it demands full attention in the body, in the acculturated self, in order not to be shocked, hurt, or killed, whether it's driving, whether it's running along the road, whether it's operating dangerous equipment, or in an airplane, or in all kinds of things where there's a very hard and crisp and small line that has to be respected for survival to the next day to occur. And what I've been both grieving and also reflecting on is, what would it be like to have at least a month, but maybe 2 months or more of the year, where we're in an environment where being sharp in the body is not required to survive, where we can zoom back into this big picture lens of self without being penalized. A more natural, slower, soothing environment that doesn't have sharp edges, in which we can play, in which we can sustain ourselves quite easily in a variety of relaxing ways. What would it be like to live in that kind of environment? And how much might getting a sense of that self, the self that slowly shifts into focus when you zoom out rather than microscopically zoom in. And so that's been the mulling, and also the joy and well-being, and as little small parts of that, playing around in the ocean, rolling around in the shallows, letting waves carry my body out and back in, just rolling up and down the sandy shore in the gentler, softer part of the surf. And just resting and enjoying and making an intention today to stay present to that self. And it's been beautiful. It's been really beautiful.